Now I know you will have had a good discussion and a good think about some of the favourite books from your past, or maybe the books that you now have been reading to your children. But in the range of texts and the range of media available for children, let's not overlook the popular culture text. We know that children, the corporatisation of children's worlds and the materials and the texts and media that are introduced into a child's life every day from the time they get up will include some sort of corporate world, corporate commercialisation of what interests children. These texts, such as Bob the Builder, follow the television series, of course, which I've told you to watch children's television. But interestingly, when you start to look through them with a critical eye, you'll find that they haven't changed much from the activity teaching text that we had as children. And I'm not young, actually, as a grandma, but I remember filling in the spaces, looking for the words, finding the piece that's different in the puzzle. And just the same activities are set out and clothed inside of the little text that can be bought in the supermarket. And I do want you to go to the supermarket. Actually, I don't want you to get arrested loitering around the book stand in the supermarket watching children. But it is very interesting to see what children choose from those popular culture texts. So here's an example. Sometimes a loving grandma like me might think it's a good idea to buy something that's popular. And even this is a text. Yes, because it's got an illustration, it has a message, something written and something visual for a child to decode and to work out. Some of the older brothers and sisters may already have worked through and be interested in the comic strip or the way in which animated cartoon characters have taken over book paper, both picture books for children, but also in the small magazines. We have the sorts of popular culture that comes through our letterbox. These are free. You can help yourself to them if you're in my street. And you can see that advertising comes as a text to our very door. We have some of the opportunities for collecting cards still. These Pokemon cards are still available. These are small texts. There's print and there's illustration for a child to make sense of, to decode. I'm also sending you off to have a look in your letterbox again. Have a really good look at some of these flyers. Have a look and see in the beautiful gifts for Mum for Mother's Day if your mum is in these texts, or if the things that your mum might want are in here. And of course there's always something available for children coming in around Easter and Christmas, particular flyers. But make use of those too. These are popular culture texts. The last little collector's item that I want you to pay attention to are the postcards. Postcards are text for advertising. They've become very popular. And I suggest that you might not be a coffee drinker, you can drink tea or water, but that you're to frequent cafes and collect these free texts. They're very, very useful for children because they act as an invitation to write. Yes, there's something to read, but there's also the invitation to write. Free. Now that's something to make use of and have in the centre. But books, you know, are not as straightforward in terms of scripts and illustrations. Here's a story following the conventions of an Arabic script. So you can see I'm actually having to follow the conventions of an Arabic text and how a text would work. So check those out, particularly if you can see in your local library. I know that the libraries around Auckland have quite an interesting collection of books in other languages. So make sure that you're checking out not just English scripts, but also stories in a range of other cultures and languages. Some books are very deliberately telling or teaching a story or how to behave. Of course, all books have that implicitly in the storyline, in the way in which the mum and dad were taking on roles. There's already a sort of a teaching moment there. But this particular set of texts that you can find often in hard copy by Magi Books, usually anti-bias curriculum books. They're books that were designed to bring the idea of anti-racism to children. And of course they are also translated into several texts, several scripts. One of the exciting things that you might find is one of the texts that works. The Postman's Letters were the Jolly Postman's Letters by the Albergs was such an exciting book because every page carried an envelope with a little postcard and some writing. So exciting. It was a breakthrough actually in children's books. It was a way to bring the child who was not necessarily interested in reading into the text, to handle the material of the texts. It pushed beyond the flat book that we looked at earlier. There are, of course, other reasons for looking into texts more closely. This is such an exciting flat book, The Ghost Train. It sets you off on a journey and you're dying to know what's happening next. In the dark, dark tunnel, you will scream! And of course the book goes on and on. But pay attention. You will find that by the end of the text, there will be bodies in coffins. That is not necessarily appropriate for a range of cultures. It was fine in the UK, but I would suggest you make sure that books that are to do with ghosts, bodies, death, these are the sorts of things that you might keep to one side and not have out as a general text. So once again, look closely into what is a very popular, the Hawkins, very popular writers and illustrators of children's books in the UK, but actually not as appropriate here. Another text that may be inappropriate for many of us are the texts by Babette Cole. You might have seen them, they might have been talking about body parts. Looks like an innocent picture book. And you think, this is great, but next thing you're confronted by stories about asking questions of your parents. Mummy never told me that boys are different from girls, she says, lying in the bath. You never know what's going to come next. So watch out for Babette Cole's quirky English humour because it will be introducing bodies. I think this text also asks, why should I go to school? Because Mummy was expelled, so why do I have to go? Check out every book that you present to children. Luckily, children's writers think about their audience deeply, and books such as The Quakey Cat came out of supporting ideas for supporting the children in Christchurch. And what happens to the cat? We follow the story of the little pussy cat who's disrupted by the earthquakes. It's a story that is not too close. It's not showing the children disrupted as such. The story is carried through and the anxieties alongside the cat's life, and that leaves it at a safe distance. Sometimes the ecology stories are very useful for introducing children to the New Zealand setting, children that are not familiar. But I'd just like to draw your attention to the way in which we have changed and accepted a range of genre in one story. Yes, we have talked about non-fiction as if they're separate texts. Here we've got the fiction, the story that's going along about the Kiwi that lost his leg and he needed the Weta workshops to make him a new leg. And we've got the fact sheet included. Do you see? So we've got the little story, we're listening to the CD of Kiwi sounds, close your eyes, says the teacher. We'll pretend we're in the bush at night listening to the Kiwi talking to each other. Now, what does the little girl say? I can't, it's too sad. Tahi's gone to live in the zoo and he's having big troubles. Why? Asked the teacher. And then the story unfolds about the Kiwi with one leg. But each page carries a factual non-fiction section inside it. So you can see now that children's books have taken on a life of their own, if you like. They're very, very popular. Authors and illustrators do want to write children's books. They do want to share some of their own values and views and ideas about the world, whether it's ecology or whether it's a story about the way in which an earthquake has upset a particular family. There's a great difference you can see between working with a book that is a simple flat book, how many horses are in the stable, our favourite friend Spot, and then we have an answer to give. We've got to do the counting with the child. 3. That flat book has been also built up into the flat books that we have available now, designed to interest the child in the most amazing collection of print, of opportunities to explore the text inside the text inside the text. It is just amazing. If you look closely into this page, it takes an adult almost to decipher the information here. Yet, it's a picture book for children. So you can see how popular the genre is. I've talked about illustrators, I've talked about the writers, but actually sometimes the publishers hold control over what your children and my children can see. In fact, as we have fewer and fewer publishers, this is actually a problem that has been discussed many times here in New Zealand. A text that was so enormously popular by Rosemary Wells about a little girl who was so upset with the new baby was there in the house and nobody was paying attention to her. And it was set out just 3 simple colours when it first came out in 1973. Simple picture book style with the print here at the bottom, illustration to tell the story. And it included the little girl getting really cross and trying to get somebody's attention. Look, she's standing right up on top of that chair. And later on, and she's waiting for Mum to look at her and pay attention to her, but no, Mum's too busy with Jack. Jack needed burping, so Nora had to wait. First she banged the window. Then she slammed the door. Then she dropped her sister's marbles on the kitchen floor. Quiet, said her father. Shh, said her mum. Nora, said her sister, why are you so dumb? Now, as you follow the story through, you will find that the publishers in this generation of publishing have decided that they would no longer want that child standing on the back of the chair. They no longer want the dad smoking the pipe as he's toweling off Jack, the baby. They no longer want to have this child being so stroppy and acting so dangerously in the household. And so you'll see that the latest publication in 1992, 93 and even later, they have, sure it's written and illustrated by Rosemary Wells, but there are changes. You have a look. That's your job, to look into children's texts. And I know that now you'll be able to take opportunities to go to the Sylvia Ashton Warner Library. You'll be able to take up a guided tour of the wonderful collection of children's texts that we have there. There's a Māori collection, there's a Building Pacifica collection, and we've also got some wonderful librarians who are selecting texts as they come off the press, literally, and still holding on to the very early texts, such as this from our library, that was so popular it was made into a text for reading recovery around the world, and is used because it's such a clear example of a perfect picture book. So enjoy. Go off now, have a look in the library, see what you can find, and go back later to your critical text log and think about that favourite text when you get home later on from the on-campus. Enjoy, and I'll see you later in March.